This is the story of how a disputed hotel bill and a bitter election turned a small Kentucky town into a battlefield where neighbors hunted each other through the streets for 3 blood-soaked years. The Martin-Tolliver feud, which some called the Rowan County War, claimed between 20 and 30 lives and transformed Morehead, Kentucky, into what one governor described as a state of anarchy. In the 1880s, Rowan County sat nestled in the eastern Kentucky mountains, home to about 5,000 or 6,000 people trying to build lives in the aftermath of the Civil War. Like many Appalachian communities, honor mattered more than law here. Political disagreements could turn deadly, and family loyalty trumped everything else. But even by the standards of feuding Kentucky, what happened in Rowan County between 1884 and 1887 shocked the nation. The spark that lit this powder keg came in August 1884. Cook Humphrey, the town marshal and a Martin ally, faced off against Floyd Tolliver in a local election. Now, elections in 1880s Kentucky were already rough affairs, with whiskey flowing freely, votes bought and sold, and intimidation just another campaign tactic. But this election was different. This one mixed political rivalry with personal hatred, and in Rowan County, that combination proved deadly. The real trouble started with something almost absurdly trivial, a dispute over a hotel bill. But in a place where men carried guns and grudges in equal measure, no slight was too small to kill over. On December 22, 1884, John Martin was at the Galt House Hotel in Morehead when his enemies found him. They shot him down in cold blood, and with John Martin's death, the feud exploded into open warfare. Floyd Tolliver emerged as the leader of one faction, while John Martin's cousin Ben picked up the banner for the Martin side. These weren't organized armies. They were collections of kinfolk, friends, and allies bound together by blood, obligation, and a shared thirst for revenge. The Tollivers included Floyd's brothers Craig, Jay, Wiley, and John, known as Bud. Each man who joined a side knew he was marking himself for death. By February 1885, Floyd Tolliver had added another name to the growing list of the dead, gunning down Solomon Bradley. The killings accelerated after that. Men were ambushed on lonely mountain roads, shot from their horses, gunned down in their own doorways. The violence reached such a pitch that train engineers started speeding through Morehead without stopping. As one common saying went, the courthouse is the slaughterhouse. On July 1, 1885, Cook Humphrey, the town marshal whose election dispute had helped start this war, joined the ranks of the dead. Shot down like so many others, his badge couldn't protect him from the feudists' bullets. By now, the normal structures of law and order had completely collapsed. Sheriff Sam Hill found himself powerless to stop the killing. Circuit Judge George H. Young tried to hold court, but how could justice function when witnesses were too terrified to testify and jurors feared for their lives? The economic impact devastated the county. Businesses closed as merchants fled to safer towns. Property values plummeted. The county lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, which was serious money in the 1880s. Families who had nothing to do with either the Martins or the Tollivers packed up and left, unwilling to raise their children in a war zone. Women, generally considered non-combatants, served as messengers between the warring factions, often the only ones who could cross the invisible battle lines that divided the county. Governor J. Proctor Knott watched this chaos with growing alarm. In 1885, he briefly sent in the State Guard, but they left too soon, and the killing resumed. The Tollivers had turned the American House Hotel into a fortress, barricading themselves inside and turning downtown Morehead into their personal stronghold. From there, they controlled the town, intimidated their enemies, and planned their next attacks. The Martin faction fought back with equal savagery. Ambushes, assassinations, and pitched gunfights became part of daily life. Z.T. Young, the county attorney and a Martin ally, was added to the death toll. Each killing demanded retaliation. Each retaliation sparked new violence. The cycle seemed unbreakable. By 1886, multiple attempts at peace negotiations had failed. How could you make peace when trust was dead, when every handshake might hide a weapon, when yesterday's ally might become tomorrow's assassin? The feud had taken on a life of its own, fed by accumulated grievances and fresh graves. Young men who had been children when John Martin died were now old enough to carry guns and continue their father's war. The violence reached levels that shocked even hardened mountain folk. Men were shot at church, ambushed at work, killed in front of their families. The rule of law had vanished completely. Rowan County had become a place where might made right and the fastest gun determined justice. By June 1887, one man had seen enough. Boone Logan, whose exact motivations remain debated by historians, decided to take matters into his own hands. "I have come to clean up Rowan County," he declared, and he meant it. Logan assembled a force of over 100 vigilantes, men from surrounding counties who were tired of the violence spilling over into their communities. On June 22, 1887, Logan's vigilantes marched into Morehead like an invading army. The Tollivers, barricaded in their hotel fortress, prepared for a final stand. What followed was less a gunfight than a small battle. Bullets shattered windows, splintered wood, and found their marks in human flesh. When the gun smoke cleared, Floyd Tolliver lay dead along with several of his supporters. The man who had helped turn Rowan County into a killing ground had met his own violent end. But even Floyd Tolliver's death didn't immediately end the feud. It took another intervention from the state government to finally restore order. Governor Simon Bolivar Buckner, who had replaced Knott, sent troops to Rowan County in September 1887. This time they stayed long enough to make a difference. Buckner didn't mince words about what he found, describing Rowan County as being in a state of anarchy. The soldiers disarmed the populace, arrested the worst troublemakers, and slowly, painfully, helped restore something resembling normal life. Courts resumed functioning. Businesses tentatively reopened. Families who had fled began trickling back. The Martin-Tolliver feud was over, but its scars would last for generations. The aftermath proved complex. Some participants in the feud went on to become respected citizens and officials, as if the violence had been a kind of collective madness from which the county finally awakened. Allie Young, who witnessed the feud as a youth, later became an influential politician. The very hotel where the Tollivers had made their last stand was eventually torn down, as if the community wanted to erase the physical reminders of those dark days. Yet the feud couldn't be entirely forgotten. It inspired ballads and folk songs that kept the memory alive in mountain culture. Historians and sociologists studied it as a prime example of how feuding could destroy communities. The story became part of the larger narrative of Appalachian violence, often misunderstood by outsiders who saw only the bloodshed without understanding the complex web of honor, kinship, and historical grievance that drove it. Today, Morehead State University's archives preserve documents from the feud, and the Rowan County Historical Society maintains records of those terrible years. DNA genealogy projects have connected modern residents to feud participants, revealing how deeply the conflict's roots run in local families. The courthouse that was once called a slaughterhouse now serves justice in a peaceful community that bears little resemblance to the battlefield it once was. The Martin-Tolliver feud stands as a stark reminder of what happens when the structures of civilization break down, when personal grievances override common good, and when violence becomes the primary means of settling disputes. Between 20 and 30 people died because of a hotel bill, an election dispute, and the terrible momentum of revenge. Entire families were destroyed, a county's economy was shattered, and a community learned the hardest way possible that some prices are too high to pay for honor. In the end, the Martin-Tolliver feud wasn't won by either side. Outsiders forced peace on a county that had forgotten how to achieve it on its own. The real victors were the ordinary people of Rowan County who survived to rebuild their community, and the generations that followed who inherited peace instead of vendetta. They transformed a place where the courthouse was a slaughterhouse into a community where law could once again prevail over the gun. The lessons of the Rowan County War echo through history, that civilization is more fragile than we think, that violence begets only more violence, and that sometimes it takes tremendous courage not to seek revenge. In those dark days between 1884 and 1887, Rowan County learned these lessons in blood. It's an education we can only hope never needs repeating.